Hello, everybody. Welcome to a Monday edition of Let's Play Every Day. We're going to take you inside Minnesota sports with Ali Siddiqui, Darrell Thompson, and a resident Twins expert, Heather Rule. We're going to start out talking about a little NHL playoff hockey. Of course, that's the A topic coming out of the weekend. Darrell, we talked on Friday. You were about to hit the road, or you were in the process, actually, of hitting the road, going to your son's graduation in Bloomington, Indiana. Everything went off as scheduled.
Yep, everything went off as scheduled. He's graduated, got a piece of paper. We went out and had dinner and hung out a bit afterwards, and it was great. So thank you very much. It was a fun trip.
Wonderful. We talked Friday about the series coming in. There was two games. The Wild played Friday and Sunday, split. Anything happened over the course of the weekend with where the Wild are concerned that surprised you, or you want to give us your take on where the series is 2-2 through 4?
I think you got to be satisfied, right? I mean, I want to win all the games, but if we can split and get it back here the way that the Blues owned us during the season, now they're, I think she knows a lot more about hockey and most people do than I do. But if we can split and kind of just stay in it, I'm excited about the direction right now of the Wild. I think you can't hardly help but not be excited, especially if you're in the playoffs.
Heather, I was really, really excited about 3:30 yesterday afternoon, then not so excited at about 6 o'clock. Where are you on this one?
I mean, I agree with what DT said. You have to be happy about a split. I think, going into St. Louis, that was what I had said beforehand too. I said, I think they're going to split. I wasn't sure which game they were going to win, but coming back here 2-2 is not a surprise at all. I don't think it's reason for people to be panicking either, just because they lost yesterday's game. I think by all accounts, Friday's game, which I was still working my way through the replay on that since I was working the baseball game. But by all accounts, Friday's game was very, very good for the Wild. And scoring right away, the way they did, jumping onto that 2-0 lead, really taking the crowd out of it, I think was huge. And it seemed like they played just a really complete, good game on Friday. And then that puts the pressure back on St. Louis a little bit yesterday. And obviously, I don't think it was surprising to anyone the way St. Louis turned things around. I mean, they're going to want to win that game yesterday. They were, I'm sure, not happy with how they played Friday and wanted to step it up a little bit. And, so I don't think that part was surprising at all that they turned it around. I think what I kind of was seeing before I got home to watch the rest of the third period yesterday was the Wild weren't testing Binnington enough because St. Louis did make the goalie switch from game 3 to game 4, and they weren't testing him enough. They weren't, I don't know if they weren't engaging as well early on. The first 2 periods, it sounded like really it sounded like they were lucky to get into the first intermission 1-1. It could have been a lot worse. So I think that was a little disappointing to see that and to see that, but even still, they had a chance to tie. There were a couple close plays in the third where they almost did tie it up. They were close. I think getting on the board early in the third with Boldy's goal was huge to get it to 3-2. Again, there were just some defensive breakdowns that stretch of, what was it, like 54 seconds in the second. With those 2 goals they gave up to the Blues really hurt him. That I don't know what Dumba was doing on that behind the net. That seemed completely like a mental mistake right there. So that was tough. But yeah, going ahead now, game 5 back home now this is where home ice comes into play a lot more because it's best 2 out of 3 and you have 2 potential games on your home ice. So I think, they need to find what they did in game 3 again and come back with that effort. I think Fiala's taken a lot of heat from people with, the penalties he's taken and, I think they did change. There was a scoring change. I think they did give him an assist yesterday, but otherwise no goals for him. And, but it's not just him, it's the whole team too, that needs to come back with, hopefully a win on Tuesday. But, I think, and the Blues did score, on the power play yesterday too. I think the whole penalty thing, you can say stay out of the box. I think some of them you can, but some of it, you are going to get called for stuff. We've seen how tight they're calling this, and they're giving teams 4, 5, 6 power play opportunities. So you're going to get called. I think it's just trying to be as smart as you can about that.
Yeah. And I mean, the series obviously isn't over if they lose this next game, but you have to be a little worried if they do end up losing this next game at home, though, right?
I would think so.
I mean, a little bit. It's, you obviously, game 5 is obviously huge because somebody's going to win. So someone's going to be on the brink of, series victory, and someone is going to have to win the next 2 games. So it's, you're going to want to win that one. At the same time, I think, they have proven that they did go into St. Louis the other day and played really, really well. So they are capable of winning there and winning on the road. And, we have seen this team all year never quit till the end and really have all those comeback wins too. So even yesterday, I didn't feel like they were totally out of it until it was over, because they have been able to do that so many times.
You just don't want to have your back against the wall. I mean, that at the end of the day, right? I mean, that's I think, and we're trying to avoid that as well. The Wild, the Blues did it and said, if we would have won that game, we'd have been like, okay, yeah, said, no, it's 2-1. Darn it. Yeah. We want to make it, interesting. So obviously, Tim, you got the next topic, so we better keep rolling.
No. I was going to say to Ali, if we stay with this, the Blues rather made some changes, and some of them by necessity on defense because of injury. Perunovich was in there for the first time we saw him, and then he was in and out yesterday of that game. So they also changed goalies. And Jordan Binnington, who backed the Blues to the Stanley Cup final in 2019, but had gone 0-9 in the postseason since, was in the nets yesterday for St. Louis. The Wild have not changed goalies yet. What do you do? Put on your coach's hat for a minute, Ali. Do you stay with Marc-Andre Fleury going into Game 5, or do you just say, hey, we're going to give Cam Talbot some work? Nothing against Fleury. He hasn't, I don't think, been the cause of any of their losses. Do you stay the course, or do you switch things up? What do you think?
I'd probably go with Talbot.
Why?
Just let's see. I mean, because I'm not a big hockey mind, but I mean, I'd say, who knows? I mean, I'd probably give him a chance. Let's see how he goes. Let's see how he does the next game. And I mean, you can always switch back. Yeah. But I know it was after the first 2 games, I saw a lot of Wild fans on Twitter. They were upset actually that Talbot didn't get a chance.
Yeah. Heather, what do you think?
I think it's tough. I think at this point, now you kind of run the risk of, okay, how long has it been since Talbot's played a game? And he had this great run, but, there's no guarantee that you put him in there and then he's going to continue this great run either. I think they've gone so long with Fleury, and I think you're right. I don't think, you can really point to a game or point to yesterday and say, yeah, he gave up 4 soft goals. We need to make a switch. I don't think he's been the issue at all. And I think it's almost like they've kind of made their choice at this point. Now, that it's not to say Talbot doesn't get in this series at all, but, I don't know if, what if they lose Game 5? Do they go to Talbot in 6? I'm just not sure what their thought process is going in, because they have gone with Fleury this whole series, which is completely different, obviously, than what they did in the regular season with going back and forth. I think they're really relying on his playoff experience here, and I see him continuing with Fleury.
Yeah, I remember back in the day, the early Wild days, with Rolison and Fernandez, they used to rotate those guys a lot. I don't know who used to get majority of the time, but I know they used to rotate those guys all the time.
If you're going to change, I would say now's the time, because you're back home. You got the hopefully the home winning mojo, and I'm a big fan of momentum and being the home team. So if we're back here, if you're going to switch now. Otherwise, ride Fleury, right on down, either down or up, to the next round. So if you're going to do it, I don't know. I think to me it's almost like a coin toss. If you're going to do it now, would make the most sense the time to do it, because you have a little bit of room. Worst case scenario, you lose this game, but you still, you have an opportunity to come back with Fleury as well. So if you're going to do it, I'd say do it now.
I think you're right. I think with the had they won and gone up 3-1, then I think you have a no harm, no foul. You can just say, hey, we're up 3-1. Fleury's been great, but we want to give Cam some work. Fleury doesn't take it as anything negative. Now you run the risk a little bit of going in there. Is it a kind of a panicky move, switching goalies? Because if it doesn't work out, they'll say, oh, you changed goalies and you shouldn't have. So, it's I don't mean any indictment of Marc-Andre Fleury, but I think if you're going to get Talbot some work, this is probably the time to do it.
Yeah, and if Fleury has a bad game, then yeah, a lot of us gonna be wondering, okay, what would have happened if they put Talbot in? Maybe he would have done better. That's also another question too.
8:30 start tomorrow night for Game 5. It'll be very interesting to see what happens. Been no let up this team since October in the entertainment value that they've given us. I'm definitely not interested in seeing it to end anytime soon. The surprise to me is over where Heather hangs out every day with the Minnesota Twins. The Oakland Athletics, not a great team. That said, Twins had not swept the A's since 2012. Got it done yesterday largely to their relief core. 5 relievers holding Oakland to just 2 singles over the final 6 2/3 yesterday. The Twins, in the midst of their longest win streak at Target Field, with their 9th straight victory, 4-3 over the A's. If they win tomorrow, and Heather, you would know this, would give them, if they beat the Astros tomorrow, would give them their longest winning streak at the downtown ballpark and their first ever double-digit home streak since they won 13 straight back in the Metrodome between June 11th and July 2nd of 2006. Heather, what's the vibe like over there?
It's part of it is who's going to play today. That's part of it. I think it's a little. I mean, it's exciting. It's fun. I think part of it is tempered with the fact that, like you mentioned, the Oakland A's are not a good team. They're last in their division. Their batting average as a team is like 200. They're, I think, second worst in the league in strikeouts, which they struck out 36 times this weekend, 15 on Saturday. So I think, there's a little bit of that, you obviously give credit to the pitching staff for what they were able to do, and the bullpen, especially yesterday, coming in and shutting things down. But also, recognizing on this home win streak too, they swept the White Sox, they swept the Tigers. When the Tigers aren't good and the White Sox were really not playing well, and now the A's. So it's fun. I mean, it's obviously great to win, and Saturday was a great game finally, weather-wise, to bring the fans out. It was the biggest crowd they had since opening day, which was really nice. But I think the injuries are sort of a concern, and it's there were a couple days this weekend. It's like, all right, when are we getting the lineup? It's an hour and a half before game time. Like who's in, who's sore, who's because like yesterday, I think they had a short bench too. It was Jeffers and they called up Godoy. It was so 2 catchers on your bench because of Buxton is not on the IL, Correa's not on the IL, but they're not good to play either. They're not available. So it's that frustrating thing. And then we heard yesterday that Correa still can't grip a bat, which is concerning, because I understand not putting guys on the IL right away, but then it's tough because then, how many games are they going to miss? I mean, early in the season, Buxton missed 5 games. And I'm not sure that he came back really 100% because then they've been giving him, days off like once a week. They're DHing him. And now it was, running to first base again. He tweaked something. Trevor Larnach, apparently, he threw out a runner from the outfield the other day and he's on the IL with a groin issue. Paddock leaves yesterday. So it was interesting too, before the game, we talked about, well, let's, we'll be interested to see what they do with the rotation when they get a couple guys back. And it's kind of like, well, it's, some of that stuff works itself out. If you start worrying about too much, well, what do they do when this guy comes back? Well, someone else is probably going to go down. So some of that works itself out. I think it was too bad to see Paddock live the game like that. He's been pretty decent for them on the mound. So so there's kind of all those injury concerns clouding it, but it's been fun to get some wins, obviously at Target Field, and they're in first place in May, which is, hey, that's fun.
And
a lot of wins.
I'm sorry, go ahead, Darrell.
No. I mean, no. Go ahead, Ali. Go ahead.
Okay. No, I was telling this to Tim before we went on air, but yeah. So when they started 4-8, I mean, they were losing very close games. It's like since then they've won a lot of close games, and in the end, that's what good teams do. I mean, I know it's still very early, but in the end, good teams, they win those close games. I mean, the first 2 games of this series, they won by a combined score of 3-1. So I know that offense. I know I didn't say, but the pitching has been a huge surprise all season, which has been very nice. Bullpen has been better than we expected, although hopefully Emilio Pagan doesn't give us any more heart attacks. I mean, he reminded me a lot of Eddie Guardado. I mean, I love Guardado, but he's definitely he used to give you heart attacks, definitely.
Yeah, he's playing with fire for sure this weekend. Too many walks for one thing, and too much nibbling around the plate, and especially what Friday night he was in and loaded the bases, and yeah, it's not great, and then he wants these close pitches. You can tell he's bouncing around in the mound, and I'm looking at my tracker. I'm like, those are not in the zone. They're out of the zone. Like, I don't know what you think they are. So yeah, it's and Royce Lewis too was the big thing over the weekend too, to have him get called up, which was kind of interesting at the time, because then they realized Correa's finger wasn't broken. So I'm wondering, well, did they call him up too early? Because maybe they'll have to send him back down. But who knows? And him getting his first hit was obviously exciting too. And Jose Miranda contributing. He had an RBI yesterday and his first home run the other day. So that's fun, I think, to see some of the younger guys step in and get their shot.
And hopefully Correa's go ahead.
Well, it just goes back to those young guys getting an opportunity. They're getting an opportunity they wouldn't get. Hopefully Buxton, it seems like he gets hurt a lot, but he's hurt again. But I think those people get an opportunity makes a big difference down the line, and also getting the taste of winning. And like Ali said, winning close games is huge in every single sport. Great teams win close games, and if you're doing that and those guys learn that, then they learn to have that expectation to win, and that's how you win, when you have an expectation to win. It's not always about, we're down by one touchdown or we're down by a couple runs and we feel like we're going to have a rally. Like, these guys know they're going to have a rally. They know they're going to come back, and that's what you want to have. So it's great and fun to have the Twins have some momentum and confidence.
Yeah. And winning the 1-run games this weekend too, because like on paper, like I talked about with the A's, they're not good. So it was kind of weird where I was sort of expecting a little more offensive outburst in at least one of the games, like put up 9 runs or something like that, and that didn't happen for the Twins. But they still managed to win the game because the pitching shut it down. And the other day, all they had was Polanco's home run. I mean, the bats weren't doing much. I think they left like 10 guys on base. And so they weren't driving anybody in, but all it took was that one home run, and they were able to hold it down, which is the second time this season they've had a 1-0 victory. So that says a lot too about just your pitching staff and not letting the other team score, even when you're not having the best day at the plate as a team yourself.
Yeah, and hopefully Correa's not out too long. But yes, like you said, it was very nice to see Royce Lewis up, and especially that barehanded throw he made too. That was also very nice to see. And I was also thinking too, I know it might be a little early, but if Lewis keeps playing well, and Correa's back, do they somehow find a way to keep Lewis up, or do they decide, okay, we want to get him at bats, so let's send him back, keep getting him more at bats?
Yeah, it's a good question. He still doesn't have a ton of experience. I mean, he had, like, there was the COVID year and then he missed a year with injury. So he's still, like, his at-bats and games in the minors are not a ton. I could see him sending him back down and kind of giving him the at-bats, because it's not going to do any good to have him stay up here and, get in the lineup like once a week or, once every 5 days or something like that. They're probably going to want to get him more at-bats.
That would be my guess, is that he's got to play. To come up here and sit on the bench probably doesn't do him a lot of favors. But if you can take a lot of teams and take a player of Byron Buxton's caliber out of the lineup, and you can take a player of the caliber of Alex Correa out of the lineup, and you can still produce 3 wins, that to me, I'll take that. I don't, you're supposed to beat the bad teams, and they beat the bad teams. And we had a Sonny Gray sighting over the weekend, and he looked very good on Saturday. I keep coming to the show, and I feel like I'm like almost like a kid. I'm so excited about the Twins, and I just didn't expect to be. And that's probably going to cost me some way down the line, some major heartbreak. But I think on Saturday, Heather, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think on Saturday at one point they had 9 players on the field who all came from their farm system. Is that accurate?
Yes, it was 8 or 9. I'm trying to remember now. I think I maybe heard 8 of 9, but yeah, that was definitely talked about how, like, yeah, they had all these homegrown players on the field, and how cool that was. So yeah, that was a part of the excitement of the weekend with, Royce Lewis coming up. And then Larnach, before he got hurt, and Jose Miranda is still, he just came up like this past week, which felt like
ago. Yeah.
felt like a long time ago. We kept talking about that Baltimore series. Felt like it lasted a week. I don't know. It was 4 games, but it was 4 very weird games. A lot of weird stuff happened.
And see, that's a good thing. Not only are they winning, but then their young guys are also getting experience too. So, I mean, you can't beat that.
No, and like there's also it's this culture. That's such a big thing. The expectation is we can change guys, we still win. I think that's really, really important. It's not like they're just going out there getting thrown to the wolves and getting beat up. I mean, they're still finding ways to contribute and to win. It's been a very, very rewarding thing to watch. I hope the weather contributes this weekend to them getting these games against Houston, because I think Correa is going to want to be on that field. And so if his hand can do that, he'll be back. And if not, I'm sure Royce Lewis will do a fine job. And that's what, when I showed this to my wife, the hugs between Royce Lewis and Polanco at the end of the game. I said, I want you to hug me like that. I want that. I mean, those two guys, he may have been the guy just called up, but obviously the bonding time that they had down in, Fort Lauderdale, down in Miami or Fort Myers, they like him. They're just not like they're bringing a kid they don't know and they don't like and appreciate. And man, the way they just hug each other and everything, I'm like, I want that in my life.
You got that, Tim. There's no question. We won't replay this and cut this little snippet out for a while. We don't want to get you in trouble. But it is. It's always exciting when someone like you think about I think it was a quarterback somewhere said, "I'm not the mentor for this young quarterback that's coming in." And then
Tennessee.
Polanco says, "Hey, you know what? This guy's the future. Polanco's been here. He might have he probably has a couple more years, but this guy's like the future, and it's like a handoff." And every sport has that handoff. I don't care if it's college, if it's professional. Certainly, there's handoffs, and that's kind of that embrace is part of the love, the affection, the appreciation. That's part of being a pro. It means you're going to be mentoring. You're going to pass on your knowledge and your wisdom to the next person.
To your point, Darrell, it's a great point, because I think so much of this is Correa showed up and right away started talking to all these guys about winning. And everything was about winning, and all the rest of it. And Polanco said and all the rest of them, they just stood there because we had a great locker room leader the last couple of years. We traded him. We got Joe Ryan for him. And I think that was just a great move. It was the right time to do that. But Correa walked into that sort of that vacuum and started preaching this stuff. And I wonder how much of that is a direct result of him walking in here with that much confidence, that much swagger, and that much ability to back it up. And that this team is not panicking and they're just finding ways to win.
I think you said it. You hit the nail on the head. You bring in people that are winning, that used to winning, and they're having that success, and it rubs off on everyone. It's just kind of part of the culture. We saw it here when Brett Favre was at the Vikings, and I think you see it with Tom Brady and the Buccaneers. They just actually expect to win. What are we going to do to get down the field here and score? What are we going to do in this situation to put points up? And that's what Carrera and he does that to the team. So it's fun to watch.
Now a year ago, our Minnesota Lynx uncharacteristically came out of the box and started the season 0-4. We all kind of went, that doesn't happen to Cheryl Reeve and the Lynx. And they rebounded and they made the playoffs. And Reeve said, you know what, we came in out of shape and we came in, we weren't prepared to play and we were shorthanded. That's not happening this year. And she assembled this team to make a run for the championship, to get one for Sylvia Falls. Darrell, Friday, I said, don't be surprised. They're playing at Seattle tonight, and this is a very good team in a very tough place to play. But yesterday, they were home against a Washington team that was without their best player in Elena Delle Donne. And if you're going to beat Washington, you beat them when Delle Donne's not there, because she's really good. And they had all 5 starters, Washington, the Mystics, in double figures. And the Lynx lost again, 4 points, matching a franchise low for 4 points in the second quarter. And down the stretch when they made their run, on the bench, Sylvia Falls, Angel McCautry, Ariel Powers, and Rachel Banham, 4 starters. What should – all right, I'm not going to press the panic button. Should I start looking for it?
No, not at all. I mean, it's part of being. It's not a senior, but it's the Lynx have an older team, a veteran team, and sometimes even as a veteran, you need an awakening, and it feels like hopefully these couple losses were an awakening. Cheryl Reeves is she's a great coach. Obviously with X and O, she's also a tremendous motivator. So I feel like the psychology, the motivation, X and O's. I would not, raise the red flag or the white flag yet. Tim, you think you can? It's full green. Let's roll.
Yeah, I agree. It's too early to panic. Cheryl Reeve, obviously, great track record. I mean, if they have if they start maybe 0-5 or 0-6, okay, that would be a little different. But I still think still too early. And she's shown she's a capable winner. So yeah, I mean, she can definitely turn this thing around still.
About 2015, 2016, Angel McCautry was probably the top scorer in the WNBA. A few years later, few knee injuries later, she made her debut yesterday, 1 for 5 from the field. Aerial Powers, 2 for 13. It's just not one person. It's just they just had a bad day. Reeve was asked about making changes and said, I sure would like them to try to do what they're being asked to do before we go and change anything. So a little frustration from the coach, but definitely they're not playing the type of basketball that she expects out of them. And the one that they wrote a piece in the Star Tribune this weekend about Rachel Banham wanting to kind of take over and do what Lindsay Whalen did. And Rachel's had just a very, very difficult start in the first 2 weeks. We all know that she's capable of great play. So I won't press the panic button, Darrell, but
no need.
I might spend a couple minutes today just looking for it because that's who I am.
No, don't panic. Don't look for it. I mean, we got to get the Correa attitude. We're going to win. And if there's a winning culture in town, the Lynx have a winning culture. They've got championships. They've got trophies. We have a championship coach. We have an Olympic coach. Sometimes you got to, chili tastes better the second day, right? Doesn't it, Tim?
It does.
Good chili. Good chili tastes better the second day. So you just relax it. Cheryl Reeves, he says, I got to put a little more garlic in there. I got to put a little bit more salt in there. Maybe a little cayenne because chili's not good if we don't have cayenne pepper in it. So just trust that she's going to handle that with that cayenne pepper, then everything's going to be all right.
I love it.
Since Tim Brewster, we haven't had a Minnesota coach talk about chili, so that needs to change, right?
Yeah, chili hot. yeah, that was his chili was hot. He had a lot of cayenne pepper.
He was an interesting man.
Yeah.
Okay, Darrell, when you were getting ready to drive down there, I know your son graduated on Saturday, but I encourage you to find a place somewhere just to watch the 2 most exciting minutes in sports, that being the Kentucky Derby. I don't know if did any one of the 3 of you actually watch the race?
I did not.
It was a blur. Go ahead.
I ask you guys to one thing today, if you can, I'll say 5 minutes because you'll need to find YouTube or whatever to find the race. Well worth going back and watching. Very, very entertaining race. There was not a super horse in there. Rich Strike was a late add to the field, went off at 81-1. This is the kind of thing that makes you encourages people to gamble.
No doubt.
Because Rich Strike was not supposed to win that race. Ran the last half of the race in 45.36, which they describe as blazing. Nobody thought he was capable of that, so I hope that means we're not going to find out the horse is disqualified today for having something in it it should not have had. But this horse makes this great run up the rail, wins the race, and not only that, pays off. The payouts, staggering. A $1 exacta bet. That's where you pick the top 2 horses in order. If you had bet $1 just on the top 2 to finish first and second, would have paid you $2,050.60. If you did the trifecta on a 50-cent bet and you had them in the right order, you would have made $7,435.35. But one lucky person at the Canterbury Park, which we all know where that is, made a bet through the track, hit the super trifecta bet, meaning that person got the top 4 horses in the right order. If you have not seen how much you win in a $1 bet, venture a guess what the payout was for hitting the top 4 horses in order.
I can't. $20,000.
Heather,
what's the rate?
It's $1. Well, I mean, you got to pick. So we've heard that a 50-cent bet getting 3 straight paid $7,435. So 20,000 is a decent bet. Triple that amount basically. Heather, what do you got to have a guess?
50.
Ollie.
50,000.
70,000.
Getting the top four horses in the right order on a $1 wager, and somebody did this at Canterbury Park, $321,500.10. Not a bad day at the track.
Not at all.
That's pretty
My
good.
gosh, how do you do that? Pick those. You must have had
Luck.
He or she must luck, but still, my guess is probably put in X number of entries with different combinations all over the place, and it's an investment, right? You just have probably a computer plan that does that, and you just bet them all, and
it's a good investment.
Mm-hmm.
Man, crazy.
Nobody wants to bet $1 and get 80 cents back. So you might as well. You got to bet. You got to play to win, man. Yeah.
Man, somebody did. Somebody did for sure. All right, DT, what's happening at? You're at work right now, right? What's happening at Boulder Options?
Oh, things are good. You know, we have we have a couple of new people starting, so it's the second week of getting people trained in. So it's it's an exciting time here with the organization. So things are good. Absolutely no complaints.
We show a little commitment. Ali Siddiqui, we had some technical issues last week. Ali spent time with the good folks at Best Buy, and not only that, went to the family, and the family recommended new microphone, new headset. You're sounding better than ever.
Yeah, I'm very thankful for all my friends and family, just for everything they do for me. Just,
Tech support appreciated. And Heather Rule, I think it's you. I think you're the reason why the Twins are winning these games. I think it's great to have this insight to whatever magic you're bringing to the ballpark. No pressure. Just keep bringing it.
All right. Well, I was around in 2016 when they lost 103. So I don't know if we can really say that I'm doing anything. But thanks. Yeah, no, it is interesting though. I keep thinking back last year they were, and again, small sample size, but they started 5-2. And so when things kind of went off the rails, me and my buddy kept saying, well, remember when this team was 5-2? And now I think this year it might be the reverse, and we might keep going back and say, remember when this team was 4-8? And it'll be the reverse of, hopefully they'll continue to do well here. So, which I think is quite possible. Their division's not great. So,
man, I hope so. It's been fun to watch. Absolutely, for sure. And good to see different people stepping up on different days like you guys did for me today. Much appreciated. Staying out of the weather if you can. I'm looking out my window. It's pretty nasty here in Plymouth right now, but you know what? Things do get better. That's why we encourage you to get off the sideline, get in the game, because that's where the action is.